Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Today we're going to debut another game from White Wizard Games. For my 1-year anniversary of starting to play tabletop games on the channel, today we're going to play Hero Realms. Thank you all for giving my content a chance over the last year. I really appreciate your support. I unboxed this deluxe edition of Hero Realms as part of my 100th video on the channel, link to which will be in the description down below. If you remember when I played Star Realms on the channel last year, link to that will also be in the description down below. This is the same game with a fantasy coat of paint. The solo mode this time involves a campaign over the course of 8 scenarios. If these first couple scenarios go well, I'll probably start this as a background campaign on the channel, similar to what I tried to do with Massive Darkness last year. To refresh everyone on what I mean by a solo campaign, or by a background campaign, I plan to step in and out of a background campaign with the other content on the channel. When I have nothing else to play on the channel, I'll step back into this, but I'll step back with other things going on. With that, let me explain a little more about Hero Realms and what we're starting with. So we'll start with my starter class. For this background campaign, I'm going to be playing the Wizard. So the Wizard starts off with 50 health, which I'm going to use dice to represent that rather than the cards, because I've never liked how the cards work, whether it's Star or Hero Realms. Anyway, we'll take a look at the deck first, then we'll talk about the special abilities. So the Wizard starts off with a Cat Familiar, which I can expend that to get either 1 combat or a gold or a health. It has a health of 2 before being stunned. Then I start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single gold cards. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, never mind. Alright, so we've got the aforementioned 5 single golds. A spell components where I get 1 gold, and the next action I acquire this turn costs 1 gold less to acquire. So similar to Star Realms, we'll have champions, which are basically the bases from Star Realms. Actions, which I don't think we really saw in Star Realms. You'd have to add an expansion for events that are similar to that. But we've got that. Then we've got an Ignite, which is just 2 combat, 2 of those, and a Fire Staff for 1. And if we have 2 or more actions in play, draw a card. So what they mean by action is at the top of the card, it might be a little hard to see because this text is really small. I'll see if I can focus in on it. But up at the top, like I said, the font is really small to read, so I'm trying to zoom in on it as much as I can. But one of the keywords up there is action, so that's how that will work. And since I will be going first, I gotta double check how many cards I draw. Okay, do draw a 5-card hand, no penalty for going first. So I'll go ahead, shuffle that up. I'll draw my starting hand and put it to the side while I go through setting our scene. Give that a cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have room for a discard pile. Then we have 2 special abilities from the Wizard class. So first up we have Channel. So if I spend 2 gold and expend this, which will essentially be tapping that, we'll get to gain a health and draw a card. Flavor text, all power has a price. Then a Fireball, a Wizard ability. I can trash this card, deal 4 damage to target player and to each of their champions. Guards don't protect against this. Kaboom! So that's just the flavor text there. That will do it for the setup on the Wizard. Now let's go look at our initial market. So similar to what we were doing in Star Realms, we'll be using any gold we acquire from our various cards to buy from the market. We'll always have the Fire Gem available to us, which is basically the same as the Explorer. You get 2 combat, it costs 2 gold to acquire. You get 2 gold when you play it, and when you trash it, you get 3 combat. Anyway, our first card in the market is Torgin Rock Splitter, which is a champion troll warrior for 7 gold to acquire. It has the green faction, similar to Star Realms. Again, we have the ally abilities that we have to be sensitive to. If we can expend this champion to get 4 combat and target opponent discards a card, which in this case will handle discarding a little differently, but I'll explain that when it actually happens. Then it's got the guard keyword, meaning that the AI would have to, our master opponent would have to take this out before it could attack us. But I'll detail more of that in the master turn. Second up, we have Influence, which is an action for 2 costs 2 gold to acquire, with a red faction. It's basically a stronger version of the Fire Gem. I might have to pick that up, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Third card up is the Tithe Priest for 2 gold to acquire, with the yellow faction. I can expend this to either gain 1 gold or gain 1 health for each champion I have in play. So each of our characters that will play out are champions, similar to our bases in Star Realms once again. Next up, Intimidation, which is an action for 2 resources, for 2 gold in the blue faction. We get 5 combat from that, and if we have another blue card, we get 2 more gold. Last up, Elven Curse for 3 combat. It's an action with the green faction. You get 6 combat and target opponent discards a card, and the ally ability is an extra 3 combat. So with that, let's go ahead and set the scene for this first adventure. So we'll grab the adventure book over here. And yes, I probably should warn you, I am going to be getting into spoilers for this, so if you're going to be playing through this, consider yourself warned. Consider yourself warned, there will be spoilers. But anyway, coming back, so Chapter 1 starts off with a bar fight. The setup, the master for this encounter, and we'll meet them in a minute, is the Enthralled Regulars. Place the oversized Regulars card in the master's seat with the level 1 side face up, and I'll detail more of that when we go up to meet the master. Deck's already been set up, and we've got 50 health ready to go. So for the story, it's early morning at the Inn at 4 Rivers, and the place is crowded with humans, elves, and a dozen more races, all eating, drinking, singing, and shouting. You're seated at your usual spot in the back corner, enjoying a horn of ale and wondering what to have for supper, when a crash and clatter from near the door turns your head. You see an upended table, broken dishes, and spilled drinks, as well as an angry-looking dwarf shoving an equally furious orc. You watch with only mild interest. Fights are common at the 4 Rivers. Then you notice the smoke. Black, cloudy tendrils flow across the floor of the inn. Whenever the smoke touches a customer, their eyes go wild and they surge to their feet, weapons drawn. You quickly realize the inn is under attack by a sinister enchantment. As fight after fight breaks out, your eyes track the smoke back to its source, a group of cloaked figures by the door. Their garb and markings call the Necros cult to mind, but there's something off about them. You rise and ready your weapon. Whilst seeking a path through the choking smoke towards the intruders, a barrel of ale smashes to splinters at your feet. Looking up, you find a trio of crazed customers charging toward you. You'll have to subdue them quickly in order to get to the source of this dark magic. Play begins with the player who has the master's seat to their right. See Rulebook, page 16. Then when the encounter ends, go to Chapter 2. So that's all set up. So now let's go meet the Enthralled Regulars. So here's the Enthralled Regulars. The level 1 side is face up. 40 and 10 makes 50 on the health, and I've got their deck off camera. I won't spoil the layout. Sorry, still kind of getting over this cold with a dry throat, but I won't spoil the layout of the deck because I built it all last night and it's all ready to go. But similar to how the ally abilities work for us, the bosses will also have allied abilities. So we'll start off by looking at the upper left car of the card for the color icon. If it's a blue, the boss will get 1 combat and we'll have to stun our highest non-guard champion. At green, it's 2 combat and we have to discard a card. At red, and I'll talk about the spikes in a minute, 3 combat. If it's yellow, they get 2 health. So the yellow, or the spike icon around the red, means part of building the deck, we had to build what are called these, we had to put what are called these mastery cards in them. Some of our regular cards will also have the similar icon. But if we see an icon in the upper left that has no color on it, that means we have to default to that red ability, in which case they'll be defaulting to 3 combat. So that's how that works. But anyway, that's our starting boss for this scenario. Now let's move back up top. We'll take a look at my starting hand, and then we'll get this game on the road. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab my starting hand, and we'll take a quick look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see we've got a gold, some combat, our familiar. So looks like we've got 3 gold. Looks like we've got a nice mix in the hand here. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our first turn, and we'll start off with the wizard. Alright, so I will go ahead and play everything out here. So I'll play the familiar over here. Then we've got the 2 combat, which the flavor text on here. Every inferno starts with a spark. Then I'll expend the cat familiar to get an extra gold. Well, let me look at the market. What do I want here? I could get, if I expend the cat familiar and get a gold, I could get 2 of the 2s or the 3. But I think right now, do I want to build? The question here is, do I want to start building up my gold resources right away, or do I want to start building up my combat? Because I was going to talk about it when it actually happens, but I think I'd better talk about it now. So the way discarding a card works the way target opponent discards a card works in the solo mode of Hero Realms. Star Realms, I don't think we encountered it where I was forcing the AI to discard, but there you gain extra combat. Here, the way discard a card works is you look at the top card of the master's deck, and then you can discard it if you want. That can be a very powerful effect to keep particularly dangerous stuff from coming into play. And I think I can get the 2s later, so I'll go ahead and expend the cat familiar to get an extra combat. And then I will buy the Elven Curse for 3. That'll move to my discard pile. Then we replace the market immediately. Not that it's going to matter here because my turn's basically over in terms of buying. So we replace it with an Orc Grunt for 3 resources. Expend it to get 2 combat, and then ally ability to draw a card. So that'll combo with the Elven Curse I just bought. And it's a guard champion with a strength of 3. So we can keep an eye on that. And then the 3 combat will throw right at the regulars. So that'll bring them down to 47. Then we'll move everything to the discard pile. My familiar will prepare. And then I'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll see I've got the rest of the gold. I can get actions for cheaper next round. And yeah, I'm going to be just short of being able to activate the Fire Staff, but nothing I can do with that. But that will do it for my first turn. Now let's go up and see what the Enthralled Regulars are doing. Okay, now we need the top card off of the Enthralled Regulars deck we find. Our Mastery card, and here's what I was talking about with the Mastery symbol. So we put that on the side. Then we default to the red ability, so for 3 combat. Okay, then we'll spend 2 of the combat, unfortunately, to take out the cat familiar, which is sad, but there's nothing we can do about that. Then the remaining 1 will bring us down to 49. Now, before we move back to the Wizards before we move to the second round, I do want to mention the impact of the Mastery cards. So we can put those on the on the boss card. Once we get 3 of those, then the boss will level up and actually become stronger. So when that happens, we'll revisit the boss card and see how it's getting stronger. But anyway, that will do it for the Enthralled Regulars. Now I'll move back to the Wizard for the start of round 2. Okay, so we have 3 gold and 3 combat, and the next action I acquire this turn costs 1 less to acquire. So I think I'm going to acquire Influence for 1, and then I've got 2 gold left. I could buy this immediately, but I'm probably not going to. Replacing the Influence. There's a Cult Priest, another red faction card for 3 combat. I can expend it to get either 1 gold or 1 combat. The ally ability gives me another 4. Given that the Fire Staff seems to want actions, I think for 2, I'm going to grab Intimidation. Then replacing that will be Raya Endweaver, or actually that's Rayla Endweaver for 4 gold. Another one from the red faction. We expend that to get 3 combat, and then ally ability lets us draw a card with a strength of 4, but it can be ignored. But as part of the rules, actually, let me double check that real quick, because I'm pretty sure if it can take out a first it attacks player's prepared guard, starting with the highest guard it can stun. Yep. Okay. So yeah, we were able to stun the cat earlier, but now we'll give this a quick shuffle because we have no deck to draw from. So you shuffle when your discard pile is empty, and so basically you shuffle when you need to draw cards. In this case, we need to draw back up to a full hand of 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll take a quick look at the hand. And we'll see, once again, we've got a lot of gold coming this turn. Unfortunately, the Fire Staff isn't going to fire off, but that can't be helped here. Anyway, that will do it for the Wizard. Now let's go back up to the Enthralled Regulars. Unfortunately, we didn't have any combat that round coming out from the Enthralled Regulars deck. Broken Tables and Chairs. So that'll give them a combat of 1 and stun my highest non-guard champion. But I have no champions in play right now, so that part won't matter. My area is blocked off. I can't fight, heal, or target outside my area, and other players can't fight, heal, or target inside my area. You may expend 1 of your champions to clear this hazard. So I have to put that in front of me. Basically, I can't do anything until I can get rid of that card. So, and then I get hit for 1, which brings me down to 48. That's going to be a problem because, as we saw, my hand has no champions in it. But anyway, that will do it for the Enthralled Regulars. Now let's move back to the Wizard, back to us for round 3. One quick correction before we jump into round 3. I misspoke earlier when I talked about the blue ability on the Enthralled Regulars. That actually targets any champion, so as we get some of the stronger champions, we can just get them stunned as well. So, starting off the turn, we have 1 combat that I can't do anything with, and then we have 6 gold, and the next action I acquire costs me 1 less. So I'm going to start off for 3 to acquire the Orc Grunt, because I need to get at least another champion. Then replacing it immediately will be an Elven Gift for 2 gold. Another one from the gold, or from the green faction. It is an action. Like I said, the font here is difficult to read. You get 2 gold for playing this. You may draw a card if you do discard a card. Ally ability gives you 4 combat, so that was 3. This will cost me 1 because of spell components, and I've got 2 left after that. So replacing that will be Recruit in the yellow faction for 2 gold. I get 2 gold and 3 health, plus 1 health for each champion I have in play. And then on an ally ability with yellow, I get 1 combat. I'll acquire that as well and clear out my gold. And then replacing that will be another Orc Grunt. We just saw one as I acquired it earlier. So, we'll move that all to the discard pile. Draw back up, 3, 4, 5. And we'll see... Okay, I can definitely clear that... I can definitely clear that card this next round. Which I'll probably have to use the champion... Which I'll probably have to use the Feline Familiar to do. But anyway, that will do it for the Wizard. Now let's move up to the Enthralled Regulars. Alright, this is kind of a slap fight so far, but that's typical in the first few rounds. Anyway, we need a card from the Enthralled Regulars deck we find. A Crazed Bartender, oh boy. Okay, this is unaware, so this is going to be a big problem. Nearby players deal double damage to this minion. On combat, we get, when it prepares, it gets 8 combat, so I have to move that into my area, which is very unfortunate, but we also have the green symbol, which, as we recall, is 2 additional combat, and I discard a card. Ouch. Well, I'm going to toss a gold to that, because that is going to be very annoying. But anyway, alright, so now the minion prepares. Now the minion expense, so the Enthralled Regulars have 8 combat, plus 2 from the card, from the symbol on the card, so that's 10, which means I get... As soon as I say it's a slap fight, I immediately get rocked. So that brings me down to 38 health. So we need to deal with that thing pronto. I think that will be next on the agenda, but the minion up here in my area prepares. Then we'll move back up top for round 4. That Crazed Bartender needs to go sayonara pronto. Fortunately, we've got a mess of combat, and I can actually get back to attacking the champion as well. So, I'll replay out my Cat Familiar. I'll play an Ignite, an Intimidation. So I've got 7 combat right now. And then the Elven Curse for another 6 for 13, to bring me up to a total of 13. And target opponent discards a card, so I get to look at the top card of the hero, of the Automa deck. So I find another Mastery symbol in the... Oh no, wait, that first one was a red Mastery. So I should have taken an extra 3 damage from that. So I should be at 35. Anyway, this is another Mastery card. Remember, I need 3 of these to level up. So, and that'll default to another combat. I think I'm going to go ahead and discard that, because I'd rather not get my Cat Familiar rocked if I can. Especially since I'm also going to expend that to clear the broken tables and chairs out. And now I've got 13 combat. Remembering I do double damage to the Crazed Bartender, I'll use 4 of that to take him out. Then the other 9 will go at the regulars to bring them down to 47-38. So now it's back to being a close game. So now all of this moves to my discard pile. My Familiar prepares. 1, 2, 3. We'll give this a shuffle. And we'll draw back up, and we'll see what we've got here. We've got combat, we've got mostly starter cards here, combat and gold. Anyway, that will do it for us. Now let's move up to the Enthralled Regulars. Alright, card from the deck for our Enthralled Regulars is a Charging Drunk. So this is another minion that's going to go into my play area. And the ally ability is going to hit me with another 2 combat and discard a card. I'll toss a gold to that. Then the minion will prepare. My cat familiar goes away. I cannot keep that thing around. And then I get hit for another 4, bringing me down to 31. Then the Charging Drunk prepares. And then everything is handled there. So we'll move back into round 5. Alright, we'll play out the 3 gold and the ignite. So taking out that Charging Drunk is probably not a terrible idea, which, since we're nearby to it, it'll do double... Wait, let me double check nearby. I might have handled that wrong. Should be a glossary of keywords in here, I think. The way I think nearby works... Player seated directly... Okay, So if it's in my own area... Okay, so yeah, I did handle that wrong with the Crazed Bartender, but I'm not going to rewind that. So the Charging Drunk actually is not nearby to me because it's in my play area. So in a multiplayer campaign, the player sitting directly to your left or right would be considered nearby, but within your own area is not. So for 3 gold, I'm actually going to buy another Orc Grunt. Then we'll replace that with another Cult Priest. We saw this. We have another one of these in the market, which reminds me, I want to look at something. Because I was remembering something about unique cards, about the same cards stacking together. I thought it had happened in Dune Imperium, but apparently it doesn't. I don't imagine it does here either, but I don't think it does. Sorry, I'm looking at this off camera. Yeah, I don't see any of it there, so never mind. Alright, so I'll just put the 2 combat on the Enthralled Regulars, bringing them down to 36. But I'm going to need to deal with that Charging Drunk very quickly. 2, 3, 4, 5. And, okay, looks like we will be able to deal with that on our turn. But anyway, let's move up to the Enthralled Regulars. Alright, we'll pull a card off the top of the Master deck. Okay, we find a red symbol, so that's going to be another 3 combat. For each nearby player, sacrifice the top card of the mountain of the market deck. Make a villainous attack against that player with combat equal to the card's cost. Ignore blocked off players. If you are blocked off or there aren't any available nearby players, attack your area instead. So I'm going to be getting attacked here any way I look at this. I'll put that there just so I remember. Then the top card of the market deck is a Death Touch for 1, which I wouldn't have minded seeing. I'm not going to go through it because it's going to be getting sacrificed. So I take another 1 and go down to 30. Then the minion prepares. So 3 plus 4 is another 7, which means I'm going to be taking that to the dome and going down to 23. So I'm doing all the adjustments off camera. So that will move to the discard pile. The minion prepares, and I need to deal with this Charging Drunk like right now if I can. So with that, we'll move into round 6. Okay, we need to deal with that Charging Drunk pronto. Fortunately, Intimidation will let me do exactly that for 5. Then I've got 2 gold, and I get to heal 3, which right now is huge. Then I've got 3 more gold, and 2 more gold, plus the next action I acquire costs me 1 less. Unfortunately, it's all champions right now, so... Well, first things first, I'm going to use the 4 combat. I'm going to use 4 combat from the Intimidation to take that out. And then we'll hit the Enthralled Regulars for 1, bringing them down to 35. And then for 7 gold... I think... I kind of want to put a wall up in front of me right now. Because I don't think they're going to be able to get to 7 combat regularly enough to get through him. And I've got a couple of other cards that are sensitive to that faction's allied abilities. So I'm going to grab Torgin Rock Splitter for 7 gold. Then replacing it, if this is a 1-cost action, I can acquire it. It's a 2-cost action. Another influence, which might not be a terrible thing to grab next turn either. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As we look at the hand, we see, okay, oh my, we've got a big green faction turn coming up. So I think we're going to be taking big advantage of this and probably getting a huge swing out of here. But I'm getting a little bit excited and a little bit ahead of myself. So let's move up to the Enthralled Regulars. Let's see what the Enthralled Regulars are doing this turn. They have another Mastery card. Green is 2 combat and discard a card. What's going to hurt me the least here? I think tossing a Vanilla Ignite is going to hurt me the least. And then that's the second Mastery card. Their third Mastery card, they level up. So I get hit for 2, which brings me down to 24. But thankfully, I seem to have, well, I say largely ducked the bullet, but I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Anyway, that is the Enthralled Regulars' turn. Now we're into round 7. Now that we're at 2 Mastery cards, keeping the third one from coming out was probably going to be a very important thing to do if I can. So, let's get started on this turn. So I'm going to play out the Orc Grunt first. Then I'm going to play the Elven Gift, which will give me 2 combat. I'm not... actually, I am going to draw a card from the ally ability on the Orc Grunt, which means this will need to get shuffled. Then I'll use this to determine if I'm going to use the other proc on the Elven Gift. Because if I draw something really good from this, I'm going to hesitate to use the Elven Gift. Alright, so this is a draw from the ally ability on the Orc Grunt. We draw a Recruit, which is actually going to be pretty helpful here. Mostly because it'll let me, well, partly because it'll let me heal, but also partly... Right, so I can use that at any point during the turn as well. So I will play an Elven Curse out, so target opponent discards a card, which means I get to look at the top card of the deck. I find a Charging Drunk, which I don't think I want because the last one brought me down pretty low. So we'll go ahead and discard that off. Then I'll play out my Fire Staff, which if I have 2 or more actions in play, and I do, I get to draw a card. So I will draw spell components for one gold, and the next gold I acquire, or the next action I acquire this turn costs 1 less. What do you need that for? Then I'll play out the Recruit, which will give me another 2 gold, and I get to heal 3 plus 1 for every champion I have in play. So I do have a champion in play, which means I get to heal for 4, bringing me up to 28. So I'm not knocking on death's door. And then the aforementioned spell components, which is 1 gold, and the next action I acquire costs me 1 less. So that 1 action, that 1 less, looks like a very easy influence to me. So that's for one, which means I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 left. So we'll flip over. Command for 5. 2 gold, 3 combat, 4 health, and draw a card. Then for 4, I think we will grab Rayla, because I've been grabbing a surprising amount of red cards this game. So we'll flip over. Domination for 7. 6 combat, 6 health, draw a card. And ally ability with yellow, prepare a champion. Then I'll expend the Orc Grunt to give me another 2 combat. So I have a total of... Oh, this is going to be a lot of combat. So 2, 6 on an ally, 9, 15, 16 combat, which will take the enthralled regulars down to 19 health. So yeah, that was a turn. We'll move that over, draw back up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll find... Okay, so it looks like our wall's coming down next turn. Hopefully the Orc Grunt will last so I can start continuing to churn through the deck a little more. But anyway, that will do it for the Wizard's turn. Now let's go up to the Enthralled Regulars. As I was moving the camera into position, getting set up for this turn, I was just musing that I haven't seen a yellow card come up yet, and now I kind of actually wouldn't mind it, aside from the giving me 2 health. But looking at my hand, giving me that, I would say all but gives me control of this game. But let's see what we've got. It's a mastery card, so we default to the 3 combat. It's another broken tables and chairs. Unfortunately, 3 combat is just enough to take out the Orc Grunt, which I can't do anything about that, but that's mildly a nothing happening turn. But anyway, that will do it for the Enthralled Regulars. Now we're into round 8, and we're back to my turn as the Wizard. Okay, so we have our 2 champions coming down. I'll go ahead and expend the Cat Familiar to clear the broken tables and chairs. Then we'll play out 4 gold, 2 combat, and I'll expend Torgin Rock Splitter to get 4 more combat, and target opponent discards a card. So we get to look at the top card of the deck. We find Temporary Insanity. We've got a couple of expensive cards in the market right now, so the question is, and this will let him heal for 2, do I let this happen, or... Yeah, I think we gamble on this one, because we know the Enthralled Regulars won't be attacking. It's not the 3rd mastery card. So I think we can gamble that the next card off the top of the market deck, maybe the next 1 or 2 will not be any kind of whammy, but I think we'll leave that there. So for 4 gold, I think I'll go ahead and obtain another Cult Priest for 3. Then we'll replace it with a Bounty Hunt for 6 and a blue card. 3 gold, 4 combat, draw card. A 6 wouldn't have been enough to take out Torgin, which is fortunate. Then we have a total of 6 combat, which I'll throw that at the Enthralled Regulars to bring them down to 13. Then I'll end my turn. My champions prepare. Then we'll draw back up. 2, 3, 4, 5. And, okay. We're going to have some gold coming. Looks like it'll be a nice varied turn. But anyway, that will do it for the Wizard. Now let's go up to the Enthralled Regulars. Alright, so we know the card on top is a yellow because of the icon up there, which means the Enthralled Regulars will heal for 2. Now we'll flip over the top card of the market deck. If this is less than 7, then we're going to dodge the bullet. This is... Oh, of course, 8. An 8 cost. So unfortunately that does defeat Torgin for 7. But then the 1 can't defeat the Cat Familiar, but he can't ignore that. So I will get hit with the remaining 1. That was very unfortunate, but again, if I could have gotten 1 card deeper, I probably would have been able to survive that. But anyway, that is it for the Enthralled Regulars. Now we're into round 9, and we'll move back to my turn. So we gambled and we lost there. Can't be helped. Anyway, we'll play out our three gold. Then I've got 7 combat from an Ignite and an Intimidation. I'll exhaust the Cat Familiar to get another combat, I think, to bring me up to 8, which I'll immediately throw at the Enthralled Regulars to bring them down to 7. And then for 3 combat, or 3 gold, I think it's going to be another Cult Priest. Then replacing that will be Borg Ogre Mercenary for 6 combat, and a blue card faction, exhaust to gain 4 combat. Ogres in the guild have a shared respect for money and violence, guard of 6. Anyway, this will all move over to the discard pile. 1, 2, we'll give this a shuffle. The Cat Familiar prepares, I should say. Three, 4, 5. Take a look at the hand. Barring anything bonkers, the scenario should be coming to a close pretty quickly. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's move up to the Enthralled Regulars. Alright, barring anything catastrophic here, the scenario should be over soon. So we find... Of course, we got a champion in our area, and it's a healing card, so they go up to 9. That ends up in our play area. Minion prepares, so we get 4 combat, which means the Cat Familiar gets hit for 2, and then we get hit for 2 with the remaining combat to go down to 25. That Charging Drunk is going to need to go away, though. I'm close to in control of this scenario, but I don't want to take a chance with it. So the Charging Drunk prepares, then we'll go into round 10, and we'll move back into the Wizard's turn. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start playing everything out. I've got 2 gold, an Orc Grunt, which I'll be expending for 2 combat in a minute, as I will also be expending Rayla, and 2 Ignite. So we'll exhaust those to bring me up to a total of 7 combat. Then I'm going to Fireball, and I'm going to trash my Fireball so I can deal 4 damage to target player and to each of their champions. So I'll hit the Enthralled Regulars with that for 4. So that'll bring them down to 5. And take out the Charging Drunk. 2 combat would get me 2 gold would get me a Tithe Priest, because why not? Even though the scenario is over at this point, we find a Bribe for 3, and the blue faction 3 gold, and then blue ally ability. Put the next action you acquire this turn on top of your deck. So for 7 combat, we'll go ahead and take out the Enthralled Regulars, bringing them down to 0, and then we'll move back up top to wrap this video up. My original plan with this video was I was going to record the first 2 scenarios in the campaign because this is going to be such a short game, but I figured it'll make life easier all around if I keep each video separate, keep each scenario as a separate video. So I think we'll just do it that way, and that's why I will wrap the scenario, why I will wrap the video up here. So we'll go into the conclusion. If all players are defeated, yada yada yada. If you reduce the master's health to 0, you win the encounter. Read the text below, then collect your rewards. Story. With the regulars and several of the mysterious cloaked figures now unconscious at your feet, you take a moment to relieve the cloaked villains of their weapons and treasure. Then, with a quick gulp, you down the remains of your drink and rush out of the tavern, giving chase to the remaining cloaked figures. Shuffle the 5 elixirs together and randomly deal 1 to each player. Put the remaining elixirs back into the box. So I've got the elixirs right here. These are cards we'll be adding. Oh, they start with the... Okay, you have this item for the next encounter only, so we'll be starting with these cards, with this card in addition to our class abilities. Anyway, we'll shuffle these and take 1. That'll be our elixir that we start the next scenario with, so we'll start with Elixir of Endurance. So once per round we can trash this to gain 5 health, which will be very welcome, I'm sure. Then our next reward, wrong book, here we go. Each player finds a class treasure. Each player shuffles the treasure cards from their class, draws 1, and then adds that treasure to their personal deck, replacing a card if applicable. Put the remaining treasure cards back in the box. And then I'll mention the notes. So the next time we step into this campaign, we'll be going to Chapter 3. And then a note. You can play an encounter as many times as you'd like for fun, but you can only earn rewards once per encounter. So we'll grab the Wizard's class treasures, which are these. Okay. Alright, so we'll give these a shuffle. And a cut. And that's the treasure that the wizard finds. So he finds a Silver Skull amulet, which gives me 2 gold, and I can trash it to draw a card. If it would have replaced anything in the deck, it would have said replace in the keyword up here, or in this main box down here. So that will do it for this playthrough of Hero Realms. As you can see, we have succeeded in starting the background campaign for this game. So I will jump into this campaign. I'll kind of step in and out of this campaign as I've got other things going on the channel. But anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of Hero Realms. We're not going to step immediately back into this campaign next week. Next week, we're going to step back into the Pandemic world and the Cthulhu mythos as we play Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Also, if I made any mistakes in the playthrough, please point those out in the comments below. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.